All right, this is Jeff and Chase with eXp Realty, and today we are going to talk about the inspection period, the inspection part of the transaction. Now, the inspection part of the transaction takes place as the very next day after an accepted contract. That starts the inspection period. Now, the typical boilerplate inspection time frame is about 10 days. Now, that could obviously be negotiated, but typically it's about a 10-day period. Now, right away, we're going to, at the very bare minimum, get a general inspector and a termite inspector there at the home to do an inspection. A general inspector is going to look at everything at that home, and we are going to meet them there to review what they have found. Now, a general inspection can cost somewhere between $500 and $600, and the termite inspection is somewhere between $60 and $75. So just keep that in mind. But after they do their inspection, us as the representation meets the client there at the end of the inspection to review the inspection summary. We go through and walk through with the inspector on what they found. After that, we can then determine, is there any other inspections that we want to get done? Do we want to have a certified roofer come out to the home and take a look at the roof to determine and make sure that it is adequate? That could be $100 to $150 to get a roofer out to take a look at the roof. Another one we might want to do is an AC inspection. Have an AC technician come out and actually test the unit. That could be anywhere from $75 to $125. And then another one that's popular, especially on older homes, but really it's good for any home, is a sewer scope inspection. Have a plumber come out and scope the sewer lines to make sure that those are adequate, and that could run anywhere between $150 to $200. So those are some additional inspections that we might want to do depending on what the buyer wants to do. So with that in mind, we will then review all of those inspection reports with the client and determine, are there any items on these inspection reports that we want to then go to the seller and request that they take care of prior to closing.
And during the contract, there's a principle called time is of the essence. So we don't dilly-dally around. We get the other party the right things that they need at the right time. We like to give the inspection report to the seller very soon thereafter, after the inspection, because there typically is some sort of emotional response that the seller has because you're essentially picking apart their property and you're telling them what's wrong with their property. And sometimes that emotional response may last 24 hours, 48 hours. But typically, when the inspection is done right, the seller, after that time frame of absorbing that information, will come back to the table and they realize, yes, these are bona fide things that are happening. So we give them a time to have that adjustment period emotionally. And then we don't really submit our inspection request, our repair request, until as late as possible during that due diligence period, that inspection period. Why? Because we want the seller to be bound. The seller is bound to this contract, and every day where there's a little bit more uncertainty about the contract, they get a little bit more anxious and they're a little bit more willing to do the deal and get you what you need as the buyer. Now let's talk about timelines in this whole due diligence period. First of all, the boilerplate of the contract in Arizona says 10 days. But it doesn't mean that has to be what the initial inspection period is. It could be 11, it could be 12, it could be less. All of that's negotiable. The inspection period ends when the buyer's agent submits the repair requests to the listing agent. That is when the inspection period ends. At that point, the seller has 5 days. So if the seller gets that inspection, those repair requests on Wednesday, on Thursday, that starts a 5-day clock that the seller has to get back to the buyer's agent. After the seller gets back with a response from the repair request, then guess what? The buyer then has 5 days to respond to the seller's response. So this could go on for a while, and this is probably the most chippy part of a real estate transaction, is handling the repairs. We're very skilled at it. It takes a lot of communication, and we also know what's happening in the home because we're out there looking at the situation, and we know what's truly important to our buyers, and we know what's truly important to our sellers. So we understand the timelines, and we understand how to get what our clients want. So I hope this helps you with the general process of inspections, from the money to the timelines and the strategy on both sides. So this is Jeff and Chase from eXp. We hope to hear from you soon.